There you go.
Alright. So I'm up first?
Yep.
Alright. This is the next part of facts about World War One. The Russian Revolution. From 1914 to 1916, Russia's army mounted several offensives on World War I's Eastern Front, but was unable to break through German lines. Defeat on the battlefield, combined with economic instability and the scarcity of food and other essentials, led to mounting discontent among the bulk of Russia's population, especially the poverty-stricken workers and peasants. This increased hostility was directed toward the imperial regime of Tsar Nicholas II and his unpopular German-born wife, Alexandria. Russia's simmering instability exploded in the Russian Revolution of 1917, spearheaded by Vladimir Lenin and the Bolsheviks, which ended Tsarist rule and brought a halt to Russian participation in World War I. Russia reached an armistice with the Central Powers in early December 1917, freeing German troops to face the remaining Allies on the Western Front. America enters World War I. At the outbreak of fighting in 1914, the United States remained on the sidelines of World War I, adopting the policy of neutrality favored by President Woodrow Wilson while continuing to engage in commerce and shipping with European countries on both sides of the conflict. Neutrality, however, was increasingly difficult to maintain in the face of Germany's unchecked submarine aggression against neutral ships, including those carrying passengers. In 1915, Germany declared the waters surrounding the British Isles to be a war zone, and German U-boats sunk several commercial and passenger vessels, including some U.S. ships. Widespread protest over the sinking U-boat of the British ocean liner Lusitania, traveling from New York to Liverpool, England, with hundreds of American passengers on board, in May 1915, helped turn the tide of American public opinion against Germany. In February 1917, Congress passed a $250 million arms appropriations bill intended to make the United States ready for war. Germany sunk 4 more U.S. merchant ships the following month, and on April 2nd, Woodrow Wilson appeared before Congress and called for a declaration of war against Germany.
Yeah.
That's you?
You read. Where are you at?
Yeah, I still have to do the back of this.
Yeah, you do the back of this, and then
that.
you end there.
Right, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yep.
The Gallipoli campaign. With World War I having effectively settled into a stalemate in Europe, the Allies attempted to score a victory against the Ottoman Empire, which entered the conflict on the side of the Central Powers in late 1914. After a failed attack on the Dardanelles, the strait linking the Sea of Marmara with the Aegean Sea, Allied forces led by Britain launched a large-scale land invasion of the Gallipoli Peninsula in April 1915. The invasion also proved a dismal failure, and in January 1916, Allied forces staged a full retreat from the shores of the peninsula after suffering 250,000 casualties. British-led forces also combated the Ottoman Turks in Egypt and Mesopotamia, while in northern Italy, Austrian and Italian troops faced off in a series of 12 battles along the Isonzo River, located at the border between the two nations. The Battle of Isonzo. The first battle of the Isonzo took place in the late spring of 1915, soon after Italy's entrance into the war on the Allied side. And the 12th Battle of the Isonzo, also known as the Battle of Caporetto, in October 1917, German reinforcements helped Austria-Hungary win a decisive victory. After Caporetto, Italy's allies jumped in to offer increased assistance. British and French, and later American, troops arrived in the region, and the Allies began to take back the Italian front.
Okay. World War One, I see. And the years before World War One, the superiority Britain's Royal Navy was unchallenged by any other nation fleet, but the Imperial German Navy had made substantial strides in closing the gap between the two naval powers. Germany's strength on the high seas was also aided by its lethal. Is it lethal?
Where are you at?
Yeah.
Lethal, yes.
Lethal fleet of U-boat submarines. After the Battle of Dogger Banks in January 1915, in which the British mounted a surprise attack on German ships in the North Sea, the German Navy chose not to confront Britain because mighty Royal Navy in a major battle for more than a year. Preferring to rest the bulk of its Navy strategy on its U-boats. The biggest naval engagement of World War I, the Battle of Jutland, May 1916, left British naval superiority on the North Sea intact, and Germany would make no further attempt to break an Allied naval blockade for the remainder of the war. World War I plane. World War I was the first major conflict to harness the power of the planes. Though not as impactful as the British Royal Navy or Germany U-boats, the use of planes in World War I presaged their later pivotal role in military conflict around the globe. At the dawn of World War I, aviation was a relatively new field. The Wright brothers took their first sustained flight just 11 years before. In 1903, aircraft were initially used primarily for reconnaissance. Is that how you spell it?
Reconnaissance.
Reconnaissance. New word. Mission. During the First Battle of the Marne, information passed from pilots allowed the Allies to exploit weak spots in the German line, helping the Allies to push Germany out of France. The first machine gun was successfully mounted on planes in June of 1912 in the United States, but were imperfect. If timed incorrectly, a bullet could easily destroy the propeller of the plane. It came from the Marine Saulnier,
I think.
Marine Saulnier L, a French plane, provided a solution. The propeller was armored with deflector wedges that prevented bullets from hitting it. The Marine Saulnier Type L was used by the French and the British Royal Flying Corps, part of the Army, the British Royal Navy Air Service, and the Imperial Russian Air Service. The British Bristol Type 22 was another popular model used for the reconnaissance work and as a fighter plane. Dutch inventor Anthony Fokker improved upon the French deflector system in 1915. His interrupter synchronized the firing of the gun with the plane propeller to avoid collision. So, his most popular plane during World War I was the single-seat Fokker Eindecker. Fokker created over 40 kinds of airplanes for the Germans. Oh wait a second. Okay. The Allies debuted the Handley Page HB-0400, the first two-engine bombers in 1915 as aerial technology progressed. Long-range heavy bombers like German Gotha GV, first introduced in 1917, were used to strike cities like Linden. The speed and maneuverability proved to be far deadlier than Germany's full raid. By war end, the Allies were producing 5 times more aircrafts than the Germans. On April 1, 1918, the British created the Royal Air Force, or RAF, the first Air Force to be a separate military branch, independent from the Navy Army. See how much I have left.
Yeah, I mean, it's already at 11 minutes. You may want to cut it here.
Yeah.